As we strolled away from my youngest son's dorm, Amanda, my wife, fought back tears. We had just moved him in, and Amanda was sniffling. Katie, our neighbor whose son was rooming with ours, also looked emotional, pulling a napkin from her purse. "I can't believe our boys are grown up already," Katie said, wiping her eyes. Amanda took a napkin. "Yes, it's hard to believe," she replied, drying her tears. "Now they have to make so many decisions on their own." As we headed to the parking lot, my mind was spinning with a major decision of my own. Doubts crept in. Should I go through with it? I'd been planning this for nearly a decade. Was now the right time? Did I need to do this at all? Amanda reached for my hand, but I dodged it, pretending to search for my car keys. Katie gave me a puzzled look. "Mark, it's okay," Amanda murmured. "I understand what you're going through, if only you knew." I thought back to when Amanda and I celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary during an election year. Politicians seemed as dishonest as ever. I wondered, when these corrupt politicians die, do you dig a hole for them or just screw them into the ground? Later, I checked the mail and saw a padded envelope among the bills and junk. I had won some SD cards on eBay, but the shipment was delayed. Opening the envelope, I found a smaller manila envelope inside. "Crap," I muttered, pulling out the enclosed letter. "I hope this bet doesn't bankrupt me. This is going to ruin my whole day. Not just today, but for many days." "Dear Amanda," the letter started, "I hope this finds you well and happy." "What the hell?" I blurted out, examining the torn envelope more closely. It was addressed to my wife, Amanda. "Josh regrets his actions? What actions?" I wondered. The only Josh I recalled was a former neighbor, a perpetual drunk we nicknamed Slinky, who fancied himself a photographer. Tossing aside the letter and envelope, I opened the larger manila envelope. Several 8x13 photographs spilled out. The first few showed Amanda, 10 years younger, in rather revealing poses. Tight blouse, shorts. The outfits looked familiar. Flipping them over, I saw no dates. Rushing to my home office, I grabbed a framed family photo from my desk, a picture of Amanda with our first son, less than a year old at the time. Amanda had given me this photo for Christmas. In the framed picture, she was wearing the same outfit. The lighting in the framed photo of my oldest son was almost identical to the one I received in the mail today. I turned the framed photograph over and the date was 9 years ago. Now I had a date that matched the photos. As I looked through the series of photos, Amanda went from being half-dressed to topless and eventually completely unclothed. With each revealing photo, my blood pressure surged. In the last series, Amanda was shown in various intimate positions. I sank into the chair at my desk, feeling dizzy, as if all the blood had drained from my head. "How long has Amanda been cheating on me?" I muttered, glancing at the family photos scattered on the table, searching for any sign of Josh. The collection showed my family's evolution. Amanda on our wedding day, Amanda with my eldest son as a baby, Amanda with both boys as they grew up. Except for the first one, all had logos from various photo stores. A terrible thought struck me. What if the boys aren't mine? I grabbed the most recent photo of my wife and our 2 boys in their summer baseball uniforms. Pride surged through me, the pride any father feels looking at his children, but I scrutinized them more critically. Both boys resembled Amanda in appearance, but seemed to inherit my build and jawline. Leaning back in my chair, I felt weary, yet this did not ease my mind. Then a thought flashed. I rummaged through my desk drawers and retrieved a copy of the medical form my sons had filled out for baseball season. In my day, paperwork was mostly about emergency contacts. Now it spanned nearly 6 pages covering food allergies, insurance details, waivers, medications, and permissions. Even the document ending World War II could fit on one sheet of paper. It took some time, but I found the information I sought amid the extensive paperwork. The blood types certified by our doctor. I reached into my wallet and withdrew my Red Cross blood donor card. The card read, Group O. Amanda shared the same blood type. We often joked about how we could donate blood for each other. Relief washed over me as I confirmed my eldest son's form also indicated Group O. Carefully looking at my younger son's profile, I found his blood type. Bold black letters showed blood type A+. Even a high school biology student knows that 2 O types cannot produce an A-type child. I thought my world couldn't collapse twice in 1 hour, but it did. I stared at the letters A+, for what felt like forever, hoping they would somehow change. They did not. Wild thoughts raced through my mind. I'll confront Amanda. No, I'll leave Amanda. No, I'll confront her, then leave. Or maybe I'll take the boys and leave Amanda. They were 9 and 11. Surely they'd choose their dear old dad, if given a choice at all. These thoughts exhausted me for an hour, giving me more questions and no solutions. By the time I went upstairs to bed, I was drained. The next morning at the kitchen table, I watched Amanda at the sink. Last night, when she and the boys got back from the movies, I skipped dinner. After a restless night, I felt strangely calm. The house looked the same. Amanda hadn't changed, but it felt like I had seen all her secrets. I wasn't in awe anymore. I doubted every move. "Amanda, remember Josh?" I asked. Though I couldn't see her face, I saw her tense up before she answered. "Josh, our old neighbor? Wow, I haven't heard that name in 12 years, Amanda replied. "I was thinking about Josh and his photos. He was always taking pictures of kids. Don't you think he was a kids offender?" Amanda sounded relieved and smiled. "Believe me, Mark, Josh wasn't into kids." "And how do you know that, Amanda?" I hesitated. Amanda wiped her hands and called the boys for breakfast. I often saw a hungover Josh trying to sneak women out of his basement. "You knew Josh well, Amanda?" I asked. "Do you miss him?" "Well, no, not really," Amanda said. "Things got better when Katie moved in next door. Our kids were inseparable. Katie, a single mom, bought Josh's house after the bank took it. She used life insurance money from her late husband, a police officer. Our kids were the same age and quickly became friends. Katie worked long hours, so we took care of her kids too. Amanda often joked with Katie that we'd claim her kids on our taxes. Katie couldn't do much handiwork, so Amanda sent me to help. I wasn't a pro, but I could handle basic repairs. My father always said, if something can't be fixed with a hammer, you have an electrical problem. I didn't mind helping Katie. She was easygoing, but there was nothing between us. My father taught us to keep our word, and I did. Amanda walked over and tapped me on the shoulder. "Mark, are you jealous of Josh?" "The thief's hat is on fire, Amanda. Should I be jealous?" Amanda sat at the table, stirring her coffee without looking at me. "Of course not," she said. "Josh was just a harmless drunk. He always took pictures. He could have been a good photographer if he hadn't been drinking." I leaned back in my chair and stayed silent. Amanda looked up from her coffee for a second before continuing. "Come on, Mark. We were all just getting started. You worked 2 jobs and went to school, and I stayed home with the baby. After 10 hours of Barney in diapers, I was desperate for adult conversation. Everyone was working. Josh was just there." I still didn't say anything. Amanda seemed upset now. "My God, Mark, what? You think I had sex with some middle-aged drunk between baby naps? Calm down." I put down my coffee cup. "Amanda, you're acting very defensively. The best defense is a good offense. Don't you want to say something to me?" Amanda glared at me and jumped up from the table. The boys burst into the kitchen, noisy and full of energy. I got up silently and headed upstairs, feeling any hope for reconciliation vanish. My anger would fade, but the trust was gone for good. "Mark, are you sure you want to do this?" my brother Eric asked the next day. We were in his office, and he was looking through the photos, letters, and papers I had brought. Eric was my half-brother, from a different mother. His parents fled Eastern Europe during the Cold War and lived near us. They died in an accident when we were 6. A social worker asked my parents to watch him for a few days, but they never came back for him. Eric stayed with us, and I thought it was just a long sleepover. Looking back, it was a financial strain on our working-class family. When I asked my mom how she managed, she shrugged. "Slice the bread thinner, add more water to the soup." My father never turned away anyone in need. Though religious, he believed faith was about actions, not words, and distrusted organized religion. He ended our dinner prayers with, "Next time let there be more at the table, not less. And Lord, protect us from your followers." Dad treated Eric like one of us, which could be both good and bad given his temper. Before he died, I asked why he took in another child when he was already struggling. He just said, "This is what a man does." Eric, with his snow-white skin, reflected his Eastern European roots, while I was darker, showing our Southern Italian heritage. Introducing ourselves as brothers often puzzled people. At a father-son event, someone noted my mom must be very fair. My father quipped, "Yes, she's translucent." Eric graduated top of his law school class and joined a top firm. He worked over 80 hours a week, driving an expensive car, living in a city view apartment, and marrying a model-looking bride from a wealthy family. She was always by his side at events, until one day he surprised his mentor with a major contract and found her there, not in the most respectable state. Eric stayed until the end of the year for his bonuses, then left, taking top lawyers and clients with him. His old firm never recovered and went bankrupt years later. Now, Eric runs a small legal practice handling contracts and wills. He also serves as outside counsel in major lawsuits. He's married with 2 children, and we're still close. Eric looked through the documents in the folder. Mark, I think you're still in shock. Take some time to get your bearings. Is that how you did it? I asked sarcastically. You're my hero for how you handled that event at your first law firm. Not all of us can be heroes, Eric answered, trying to lighten the mood. Someone has to sit on the side of the road and applaud as we pass by. Then he got serious. Listen, Mark, your wife Amanda is just a person, and most people struggle to see beyond themselves. We only notice how we're treated and don't think about how our actions affect others. Are you Yoda now, Eric? I rolled my eyes. I want to leave. My revenge will be making sure this cheating woman doesn't get a penny and everyone knows what she did. I don't want Amanda thinking she can cheat on me and use hormonal excuses like I'm some fool. Okay, Mark, but remember, revenge only shows that someone got to you. Letting someone know they can break you gives them great power. Don't give that power to anyone. It's better to ignore the emotional abuser. It may not bring instant gratification, but in the long run, it's the best thing to do. Take it from someone who's been there. Eric turned to his computer. I don't practice family law, but my buddy from the old firm is a real shark. He takes no prisoners. Are you sure you want to do this? Call him, Eric. A week later, we were in a fancy corner office downtown. Mr. Big Shot had just finished going through the stack of papers I brought. Tax returns, payrolls, mortgage payments, paternity tests, wills, etc. The list seemed endless. Mr. Big Shot took off his reading glasses before speaking. Forget about it. I was shocked to hear these words from an overweight lawyer who was supposed to be a shark. Mark, I know you and Eric are close, so I'll be straight. Forget about it. It took me a moment to respond. You mean I have to act like this never happened? Mr. Big Shot leaned back in his chair, smiling knowingly. Yes, unless you have video footage of your wife Amanda force-feeding your children Red Bull as babies and making them fight for prize money. He pointed at me. Currently, you have a nice wife, a house, and 2 good children. But if you push this, you may end up with a small apartment, no money, children working part-time, and your wife with new male friends. You'll be paying alimony, child support, and more than half of your earnings and savings. I was stunned. Amanda has a job, so why should I pay child support for a child that's not even mine? Mr. Big Shot looked surprised. Mark, I'll take your money if you want to continue, but let me explain. What your wife earns at this part-time hair salon does not compare to your income. So alimony is a given. The dispute is only about how much and for how long. As for child support, only 6 states in America allow men to stop or avoid paying child support for a child not biologically theirs, and we don't live in any of those states. But what if I find out that Amanda knew all along the child wasn't mine? Is this a scam? Mr. Big Shot leaned forward, resting his forearms on the massive table. Here's a dirty little secret. Let's say we prove your wife knew it wasn't your child. It would be fraud for her to have presented the child as yours. However, this type of fraud has no punishment and doesn't require compensation. Even if you were divorced and paying alimony for 17 years, your wife could publicly announce you're not the father and knew it all along. There's no law in all 50 states requiring her to pay you back or face any penalty. Some poor guy in Florida was paying alimony to a woman he wasn't even married to. He took a DNA test that showed the child wasn't his, but the court ordered him to keep paying child support because it was in the best interest of the child. That case is still going through the courts. The child will be 18 before it's resolved, and even if he wins, the pseudo-father will never see a cent of the money he spent. I interrupted him. Can I at least try to get the money back from my cheating wife's boyfriend? In most states, only the mother can seek compensation. Only 2 states allow you to try to get your money back as a man. You must prove that both the boyfriend and the mother knew about the deception. Plus, you need to show that it caused undue hardship on the child's well-being and the family's quality of life. Our state isn't one of those with such a law. I sat back in my chair as he continued. Ask yourself if a man's pride is worth more than half his property, spousal support, and child support. Money won't restore your self-respect or reputation. Wouldn't it be better to end everything and find someone who truly appreciates you, rather than stay in a sham marriage? Eric interjected. Maybe a marriage counselor can help them overcome this. Mr. Big Shot waved his hand dismissively. Counseling helps in less than 10% of cases. In my experience, it only encourages spouses to prepare an escape strategy, More than two-thirds of women who undergo counseling initiate divorce. Over 55% of women who cheat end up leaving their marriage. In custody split states, it's a little less, but we don't live in one of those states. Here, it's winner take all. The advantages heavily favor the mother. How old are you? 35 years old? Yes, I muttered, trying to absorb all these blows. Mark, I hate to give bad news, but most often a wife cheats on her husband around age 45. If your wife has already had an affair and she turns 40, the likelihood of a relapse is high, almost certain. The pain and guilt from the previous affair may have subsided, but the memories of what was exciting and thrilling will grow. It's like a high school athlete scoring the winning point but breaking his leg. The mind forgets the pain but inflates the significance of the moment. The desire to relive this moment can turn into an obsession. While a middle-aged athlete can only relive those glory days through their children's competitions, spouses may seek a partner outside the marriage to recapture what led to the affair. Eric picked up on what I was thinking. Once she cheats, she won't stop. Mr. Big Shot spread his arms out, palms up. Nothing is absolute, but infidelity ranks second after money as the main reason for divorce. I swear this won't happen to me, I said through clenched teeth. Swear all you want, Mark, Mr. Big replied. Swearing is a compromise between flight and fight. Crap, I muttered under my breath. Isn't it more affordable to keep her? Mr. Big pondered. Extramarital affairs affect 68% of all married people. Having children changes the game. Kids from broken homes often turn to illegal drugs, become promiscuous, and battle depression and anger. The sad fact about divorces is that nobody truly wins. However, it's always the children who lose the most. Suddenly, I recalled the day I informed my father that we were expecting. Mark, my father advised, many men become fathers, yet not all are dads. To be a man and a father, your kids must come first. If food is scarce, you starve. If there's no shelter, you face the cold. If money is tight, you go without. Being strong is crucial. Always be strong, not just outwardly, but by seeking and accepting help when necessary. You only discover your true strength when it's all you have. Son, you'll often err, but you must not waver. Mistakes are expected and acceptable for a real man. Your efforts will seldom be acknowledged, they may even be mocked. But a real man doesn't chase applause. He acts for his family, for his children, because he is genuine and authentic. I leapt from my seat as if electrified, reaching out to Mr. Big Shot. Thanks for your time. I definitely learned a lot about law today, but I think I won't be needing your services just now. How much do I owe you for this? Mr. Big smiled, extending his hand. No charge, Mark. We're just two old lawyer pals chatting. He then looked at my brother Eric. Plus, I owe your brother a huge thanks for helping me out of trouble back at our old firm. Things are going much better for me now, thanks to him. Just call me whenever. My door is always open to you, I mean it. As Eric and I drove away, I asked him, Eric, after finding your fiancé with your mentor, why didn't you leave immediately? Why stay at that company for nearly a year? Eric's face tightened as he answered. Honestly, my first impulse was to leave right then, he said, managing a small grin. Actually, that came right after I headbutted the old guy when I caught them together. Eric paused to change the radio station. After knocking him down, I went to my office and drafted my resignation. So why didn't you hand it in? I was angry, Mark. Then I felt sorry for myself. Then I remembered Dad's words about self-pity. So I thought, why should I let those two take away what I've worked so hard for? The very next day, the top partner came to see me for the first time. He was worried about the mix-up with my former mentor. Ridiculous. It was really because I had strong connections at high levels, and he was scared I'd leave and take all the clients and billable hours with me. He offered me all kinds of fantastic fixes, and I made him write them down. From that point, I controlled my own joy. I even kept that woman around for a bit more. Why not? We weren't perfect, and it's not like we'd never been together before. When I found something better, she was gone. Same with the law firm. When my contract was up, I left them behind too. I took Dad's advice to heart. From then on, I did what made me happy, sticking to his principle that kids come first. Amanda didn't matter to me anymore. I made sure to have as little to do with her as possible. A week after my talk with Mr. Big Shot, Mark, I have fantastic news, Amanda shared at dinner. The salon wants to promote me to full-time manager. Initially, I'll need to work evenings and weekends. But I'm confident that for a while, you and the boys can handle making your own dinners. This setup was perfect, as I was out the door before Amanda woke up. And by the time I returned home, she was already working as the salon manager. By the time she locked up, I was fast asleep. On her days off, I told Amanda, I played darts. In fact, I chose to meet with a psychoanalyst alone several times. I found out I wasn't any more spoiled than anyone else. But more significantly, I realized that besides my duties to my kids, I had to look after my own happiness. What Amanda did, is doing, or will do, was out of my hands. We face temptations everywhere. It is our own weakness and responsibility if we succumb to these temptations. The truth is, once I stopped trusting Amanda, my feelings for her changed. I soon realized I didn't care about her actions anymore. As time passed, my intense hatred for what she did faded, but the resentment lingered. I do all this for my children, and that's that. Amanda turned into something like the girl next door with perks. She was so focused on her job that I don't think she even noticed. Meanwhile, the boys and I were enjoying ourselves. I took a big home equity loan, added a pool, an outdoor deck, and transformed our basement into a real man cave. I traded my dull car for a huge SUV with terrible gas mileage. My boys and Katie's kids rode in style as I got season tickets to all the sports games. I drove the team around because everyone and their gear could fit in this huge SUV. And after each game, win or lose, I treated them to pizza or ice cream. Katie often joined us on these outings. People sometimes thought we were one big family. I would like to, I replied half seriously. This always gave Katie a confused look. Amanda always had excuses, blaming her work schedule, feeling too tired, or wanting to relax on her days off. Soon the boys just stopped asking her. A few years later, my oldest son and Katie's eldest were accepted to the same college, mine on a partial scholarship. Katie never knew I paid for the rest and his expenses. 3 years later, we repeated the process with our youngest kids. This brings us to today and my current choice, to stay or leave, to move forward or keep things as they are. Amanda was sitting on our deck, savoring the last days of summer, overlooking the pool, wine in hand. I came back after cleaning out the SUV from our trip. As I settled into the lounge chair opposite her, Amanda closed her eyes. Mark, now that the boys are gone, the house feels so empty. Amanda sipped more wine. What difference does it make? But I'm ready for a change. I had already made up my mind, I thought. Wait, dear, you'll see changes soon. I threw the papers on the glass table between us. Amanda, I don't think we should be together. I want a divorce. Amanda stood up, grabbed the papers, and looked them over quickly. What is this nonsense, Mark? She asked. Amanda, that's just a copy of the divorce papers. Once you get a lawyer, mine will send the official ones. I'm being quite reasonable. The savings are you out of your mind? Amanda nearly yelled. You're leaving me after 20 years, she continued, rifling through the documents. No alimony? Where's the savings? Total household debt. What are you trying to pull? I tried to stay calm. We both earn about the same, and our retirement funds are nearly equal. This was accurate since I had put off all salary increases from my recent promotions and minimized my 401k contributions after taking out money for my son's college tuition. Amanda looked shocked as she kept reading the petition. We only make the same because I work twice as many hours as you do. I'm not selling my house. I've put too much into it. Amanda, we're underwater on the house because of the home equity loan you took to buy it. Where do you think the money for this porch, your new kitchen, came from? She slammed the papers down on the table. We are not getting a divorce, and that's final. Suddenly, a realization seemed to strike her. You son of a bitch, Amanda snapped, pointing at me. Found someone new? I gave you the best years of my life, and now you want to run off with some young woman? Her face turned red. How long have you been cheating on me with some young woman? Her face was red. How long have you been cheating on me? You're a pig. Please, I sighed. Let's not get into that. The reason doesn't matter. We live in a no-fault state. Everything, both assets and debts, will be split equally. But Amanda wouldn't calm down. You're wrong, Mark. It does matter. I need to know, and I deserve to know. Who have you been unfaithful with? I shook my head and said gently, It's true there were instances of infidelity. But please, let's not discuss it. It's better if we just leave it alone. My vision blurred for a moment as Amanda splashed her glass of wine in my face. As I got up to head to the kitchen, I felt a wine glass hit my back and shatter on the porch floor. Amanda was furious and followed me, continuing to yell while I rinsed my face in the kitchen sink. You are a son of a bitch. I'm not going to be thrown out just because you want to mess around with some girl. No wonder our bed life has been terrible these last few years. But let me tell you something, buddy. I've had plenty of chances in the past, but I never... Amanda stopped mid-sentence as I turned and laid out photos of her and Josh in various poses, each more revealing than the last, on the kitchen table. Her face turned pale, and she hurried to the kitchen sink. I gathered the photos into a stack and sat at the kitchen table. Well, Amanda, it seems you took those opportunities you mentioned. She rinsed her mouth with tap water and splashed her face. Then she dried off with a towel and sat in the chair across from me. Please, Mark, take them away. Amanda nudged the pile of photos toward me with one finger, as if they were venomous snakes. I slid the photos into an envelope and tossed it into the dresser drawer behind me. Amanda covered her face with her hands. Oh my God, I don't know what to say. I was just tired. It doesn't matter, Amanda. I don't care anymore. Amanda grabbed my hand. Mark, please listen. It was only one time. You have to believe me. No, Amanda, I shouldn't believe you, and I don't. I leaned back in my chair. And why should I, like you, would never lie about cheating? Amanda gripped my hand tighter. It was so long ago. I didn't realize being a mother was this hard. I barely slept because of the baby, and you were always exhausted from work. I felt like I was losing myself, just another mom, or just your wife. I pulled my hand away. I worked 2 jobs and went to college all for us, for our family, so I really don't want to hear about being tired. Mark, I know how to beg. I want to make everything right. Josh was just a fun-loving drunk. Sometimes Josh's mom would come by for a few minutes to watch the baby. It gave me a chance to be around an adult for a bit, just to stay sane. I tried to stand up. Amanda, I really don't care. She kept talking. Josh always had a drink in his hand. Eventually, I'd take a sip or two. He always snapped photos of me with a camera that had a fast shutter speed. I started to play along, pretending it was some kind of big photo shoot. Josh always cheered me on, telling me how great I looked, how natural I was, how much the camera loved me. Amanda bit her lip as she looked at me. It was just fun that spiraled out of control. I'd pull my blouse down to show my shoulder or lift it to reveal my belly button. Pretty soon, I felt so at ease that I stripped down to my bra. It wasn't a big deal. People see more at the beach. I noticed Amanda's tears. One day, when I mentioned wanting a photo of you for Christmas, Josh offered to do it for free. It all went very well. The photo came out great. Right after, our son fell asleep on the couch in Josh's studio. You mean his parents' basement, Amanda? She wiped away a tear. I thought he'd be asleep for a while and didn't want to disturb him, so Josh and I had a drink. Well, one drink turned into a whole bottle, and, well, you and I haven't been intimate in such a long time. I began to stutter. Are you telling me you slept with that damn drunk while our son was sleeping just a few feet away? Oh God, Mark, I'm so ashamed. I don't know what came over me. I was so... Amanda paused, her head falling to the table as she started to cry. Amanda, we can't change the past. We need to face what we've done. Please sign the papers. We'll tell people we've chosen to part ways. No one beyond our close family needs to know the details. Amanda raised her tear-streaked face from the table. It doesn't have to end like this, Mark. Please, it was so long ago. It was just a small mistake, a foolish error without any repercussions. I took out another set of documents from the folder, laid them in front of Amanda, and spoke as she looked them over. Amanda, every action has consequences, some more significant than others. Mark, what are these? Amanda asked, flipping through the pages filled with graphs and charts. Amanda, these are the results from our family DNA test and our blood types. You see, there's a discrepancy. Amanda clutched her chest and began to hyperventilate. I stood up and fetched a paper bag from the kitchen cabinet. Amanda, breathe into this paper bag, I instructed, handing it to her shaking hands. You're hyperventilating. Slow down. Take calm, steady breaths through your nose. There, that's better. After a minute, Amanda's breathing stabilized. I moved back and sat down across from her at the kitchen table. She put down the paper bag as color returned to her cheeks. Amanda, you knew all along, I declared, more as a statement than a question. Amanda began shaking her head while toying with the paper bag. I suspected, but I just hoped. Well, I prayed, but I was never certain. She stumbled through her words. Amanda, come on, I pressed. You graduated with honors in biology, if I remember right. You must have thought I was naive to buy all those stories about premature births and early deliveries. I shook my head. Now you understand why it's tough for me to trust you. Not only did you cheat, but you also made me raise another man's child. It wasn't like that, Mark. After Josh and I felt so ashamed. I didn't want anyone near me, not even you. I vowed to be the best mother and wife possible. When I discovered I was pregnant, I panicked. I had nightmares about you kicking me out, taking our son, or forcing me to get an abortion. Amanda, did I ever threaten you during our time together? Did I ever make you do something you didn't want to? You know how family-oriented I am, how I was brought up? I paused to rub my temples. If you had told me, we could have figured something out. Instead, you chose to lie. It was just one lie, Mark. No, Amanda, it was not just one lie. It was a lie every single day up to today. Each day you chose to live a lie. You had other choices. But I felt I had no choice, Amanda pleaded. You always had a choice, Amanda. You could have told me at any point. You chose to keep up this deception, and I don't know what else. Now it's my turn to choose. Please, Mark, Amanda implored. Don't tell the boys. Amanda, we can't continue with lies. Children who grow up around secrets and lies struggle to trust and often feel insecure and dependent. When their family falls apart, they might not have any truthful relationships to rely on. They'll feel abandoned, so you tell them or I will. My God, Amanda murmured. What do I say to them? Tell the boys, your mother made a mistake, but you both are still our sons, and it doesn't change how much we love you. The boys handled it quite well, considering all their friends have step-parents, 2 moms, 2 dads, and blended families. It wasn't much of an issue for them. Amanda felt bitter about it all. She kept saying we could sort things out, that not enjoying the house we worked so hard for would be a waste. But I was through with it all and ready to move on. Oddly enough, dealing with the house was more of a headache than the divorce itself. Our megabank was a nightmare to work with when we tried to give back the house. They rejected all the short sale deals we proposed, and we never talked to the same person twice. Depending on which employee at the megabank they spoke to, they got different answers to the same questions. Plus, the paperwork was ridiculous. I think we've single-handedly chopped down most of the trees in Washington state with all our written submissions. Thankfully, my brother Eric got one of his friends, who was a sharp real estate and law expert, to help us out. Over several months, he proved that Megabank had broken not just its own rules, but also many state and federal laws designed to protect homeowners with underwater mortgages. Oddly enough, Megabank ended up owing us money. They didn't even show up for the court hearing, despite receiving 4 certified letters, and we got a default judgment. According to it, we got the house for free, and the bank had to pay all the court and attorney fees. It turned into a spectacle that resembled a 3-ring circus when our attorney went to the megabank branch with 2 armed sheriffs, a court order, and a moving company to seize their assets, like furniture, computers, etc., as Megabank had ignored numerous notices about attorney fees. The local media covered it extensively, and even passers-by pitched in to help dismantle the bank's offices, while a bewildered bank manager desperately tried to reach his superiors on his personal cell phone, since his work phone had been taken. When this story of a modern-day David beating Goliath spread nationwide, our lawyer and I briefly became celebrities. I don't want to be ungrateful, but adding to the house helped us finalize our divorce. Amanda didn't want to sell the house right away, so after a lot of discussion, she agreed to pay me half the rental value, and she would handle the utilities like gas, electricity, and water. We split the insurance and taxes evenly, and any money from a future sale will be divided equally. I did what any newly single middle-aged man does and rented a lousy apartment temporarily while I figured out my next steps. Naturally, I joined a gym to try and get back into shape. I despise going to the gym. And there I was at the reception looking forward to a free session with a personal trainer when I heard, "Mark, oh God, how happy I am to see you." I turned around and saw my former neighbor, Katie. She looked fantastic. Katie was wearing a tight leotard branded with the gym's logo on both the front and back. She hugged me. Wow, she was in shape everywhere. "Katie, you look fantastic," I said as she released me from the hug. "What brings you here?" "I work here, Mark. Well, part-time anyway." Katie glanced at the clipboard she was holding. "Turns out I'm your personal trainer tonight as well. Which machine do you want to start on?" How about we swap?" I suggested. "I'll buy you a chocolate of your choice." Katie laughed and guided me toward a collection of devices that looked like they belonged in a medieval torture chamber. I didn't recognize any of the exercise machines that I remembered from gym class at school. I tried to appear strong, but after 90 minutes I had thrown up twice. Like any typical tough guy, I lied and said I needed the bathroom because I drank too much coffee at work. Those scales must have been set to metric because I swear pounds were never that heavy. Katie showed some sympathy and agreed to meet me at a cafe after I hobbled to the locker room. She looked bright and energetic, linking her arm with mine as we waited in line at a local cafe while I felt like a zombie. Katie, since when did ordering coffee get so complicated? I asked after she ordered something that sounded like a chemistry formula. I mean, last I checked, there were only 3 sizes of coffee: small, medium, and large. Katie laughed. She still had that high-pitched, melodic laugh I remembered. Mark, just tell the barista what you like, and he'll make it for you. Barista, my goodness! I shook my head in disbelief. All right, just give me something a guy could drink at a football game without being teased. Katie patted me on the shoulder as we moved to our table. Mark, I really missed you. Damn, Katie, you just missed having someone to do your home repairs for free. Katie cooled her intricate coffee drink before taking a sip. Well, there's that too. I feel sorry for you and Amanda. She took a sip of her drink. It's hard to believe that woman cheated on you. I almost choked on my coffee. What? Who? How? How do you know? Katie paused, setting down her cup. Nobody told me. I've known you and Amanda for years. She shrugged. I can't prove it. Just the intuition of an old cop's wife. Amanda always had that hope I don't get caught. Look what I got away with, look. I considered what Katie had said. So, Amanda never told you anything? Katie shrugged again. No, Mark. She didn't confide in me. Would knowing more details help you reconsider getting back with her? Well, knowing more might. I shook my head. No, it's not just about the cheating. Yes, it's about the cheating, but it's also the lies and mistrust. I can't get over it. I have about as much chance of trusting Amanda as a blind man using a microscope, and without trust. I let my voice trail off, gesturing hopelessly with my hands. Why bother? The marriage is done. I tried to lighten the mood, and soon had Katie laughing as I told her about our argument and how we split the house between me and Amanda. I was actually enjoying the conversation, and time flew as we both had fun. Suddenly, Katie checked her watch. Sorry, Mark, I need to leave. The last bus goes in a few minutes. Don't worry, Katie, I'll drive you home. Thanks so much. Otherwise, I couldn't start my car. Bad starter, I think, and work has reduced my hours. Money's tight, so I have to wait for my next paycheck to tow the car to the shop and get it fixed. I looked at my watch. Darn it, Katie. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I'll grab a starter and we can make it to the auto parts store before they close. That would be fantastic, Mark. I've had to leave home 3 hours early to catch the buses for the past month, and the nearest stop is a 30-minute walk. Katie hesitated. But, I can't afford it right now. I dismissed her concern. Don't worry about it. You need your car. We'll sort out payment later. Plus, all my tools and stuff are still in Amanda's garage. I haven't moved them out yet. Standing up, I reached out my hand to her. Come on, beautiful lady. The Prius hybrid chariot awaits you. Katie looked at me, puzzled. A Prius hybrid? What happened to that huge macho SUV you used to drive? I made a face. Yeah, I got sick of stopping for gas all the time. I think my carbon footprint was single-handedly wiping out half a hectare of rainforest daily. People started looking at me like I was some kind of eco-villain. Katie stared at me in disbelief. I just can't picture you driving a hybrid. Yeah, I feel like my testosterone levels plummet every time I cram into this plastic bubble. You know how it is, size matters to us guys. She laughed as I opened the car door for her. Luckily, the auto shop had a starter that fit Katie's car. And even better, it was on sale. Amanda wasn't home, but I still knew the garage door code, so with the right tools in hand, it took me only an hour and a half to get Katie's car running again. Katie was so thankful that she hugged me tightly and kissed me on the lips. I didn't hug back, holding the oily tool in my hand. While washing my hands, I noticed the faucet wasn't fully turning on, and the drain was slow. As I dried my hands, I pointed towards the sink. Katie, why didn't you tell me? I could have fixed that for you. Mark, I knew you and Amanda were dealing with more serious issues. I didn't want to trouble you with small stuff, especially since my work hours were reduced. She turned away, tears shining in her eyes. I don't want to be seen as a charity case. I walked over and put my arm around her shoulders. This isn't charity, just one neighbor helping another. I squeezed her hand. Besides, I have plenty of free time now, and you seem to have enough to keep us both busy. Let's make a list and check it twice, like Santa Claus. Now, would you mind grabbing me a pen and paper, please? Katie wiped her eyes but managed a faint smile as she faced me. Okay, Santa, but if you're too nice, I can't promise I won't become cheeky. For the next 2 weeks, I spent all my free time at Katie's house. Her place didn't need major repairs, just lots of small fixes, from mending the screen door and rusty hinges to painting the splash guard. I never saw her cheeky side, but I cherished our time together. One evening, after a few glasses of wine, Katie talked about her first husband. He was a good man, Mark, always helping others. He died when a drunk driver hit him. He wasn't even working, just stopped on his way home from the gym to assist a woman with a flat tire. The drunk didn't even slow down. She took another sip of her drink. But he fought hard, lasted 4 days. Do you know what he told me last? I stayed quiet, letting her continue. Mark, his last words weren't about himself, but about our family. Tears streamed down her face. He said, "Take care of our boys, look after them and yourself." I moved around the table to embrace her, and she went on. I never imagined life would turn out like this. Since he was off duty, we didn't get any survivor benefits. His modest life insurance policy helped us buy this house. Cops take care of their own, and his colleagues were always supportive, but I had to move. As kind as they were, it just kept reminding me of his death. I just never thought it would be this tough. I let Katie weep. There were no right words to offer. The next morning, I was lying under the bathroom sink fixing the drain when I felt a tap on my leg. "Mark, where did you disappear to last night?" I heard Katie ask. "Back to my shabby little apartment," I replied, removing the drain trap. "You were sound asleep. I made sure you were in bed before I left." I reached out from under the sink and showed Katie the drain trap. "Wow, girl, look at all this hair. Were you showering in a mongoose den?" Suddenly, the front door slammed shut, and I heard footsteps followed by a shrill voice. "Where is he? What are you doing with my husband?" I bumped my head as I pulled out from under the sink and saw Amanda's legs in the bathroom doorway. "Leave him alone, Amanda!" Katie shouted. I stood up, caught between a stunned Katie and an irate Amanda. "Amanda, what are you doing here?" I asked, trying to calm the situation. Amanda shifted her gaze from Katie to me. "Damn it, Mark. I know what's happening. Every night you leave this woman's house with your clothes all messed up, sweating like a farmer after a hard day. I know what you've been up to." Amanda paused, trying to collect herself. "I get it. You're trying to get back at me, but you've had your fun with this woman. It's time for us to get back together." I was so taken aback I could barely respond. "Amanda, we can't get back together. That ship has sailed. Besides, there's nothing between Katie and me." Before I could finish, Katie wrapped her arms around me from behind and then spoke up. "That's right, Amanda. There's nothing going on here. But you know what? Everything is about to change." Katie stepped around me and took Amanda's hand, guiding her towards the open front door. "Now please, even though you're no stranger, call ahead next time. We'll be busy for a while." With that, Katie shut the door behind a still dumbfounded Amanda. Katie turned back to me once I regained my composure. "Katie, that was quite the scene. Thanks for supporting me and boosting my ego, but it wasn't necessary." Katie stood directly in front of me and started to unbutton her blouse. She wasn't wearing a bra, and despite her age, Katie's breasts were impressive. I forced my gaze away from her chest and looked into Katie's eyes, scolding myself internally for what I was about to say. "Are you sure about this?" I asked. Katie wrapped her arms around my neck. "Mark, I've known you longer than my husband. I loved him deeply, and I kept my promise to him to look after our boys. Now I'm ready to keep my other promise to him, to take care of myself." With that, she took my hand and led me upstairs to the bedroom. I wasn't sure who was more nervous. I didn't want to mess anything up, and Katie hadn't been with anyone in nearly 20 years. But like getting back on a bike, we found our rhythm and pace. The conversation took an interesting turn in bed when Katie declared, "Mark, you're moving in with me." It was a statement, not a question. "Wait, that's quite a statement. Aren't you worried this might be a mistake?" I asked. Katie propped herself up on one elbow, giving me a clear view of her chest. "Mark, we've been friends for most of our lives." She raised a hand to silence any objections. "We're too old for games. It's beneficial for both of us. You need a place to stay, and I have the room. I care about you, and you care about me. I have needs, and so do you. Why pay rent to some faceless landlord? If it makes you feel better, think of it as saving the rent money for your mortgage. Plus, you know this house better than anyone." "Katie, wouldn't that be awkward?" I motioned across the street to where Amanda lived. Katie just shrugged, undisturbed. "It's not my problem anymore. I don't care what other people think now. I only care about your opinion. Your old house is still in your name. This is a big commitment, and what's better than seeing it every day? That's what we decided. Things were odd for a bit." Amanda still harbored resentment about everything. She seemed stuck and unable to move forward. Damn it, Mark, Amanda confronted me one day while I was at her place fixing a crack in the driveway. When are you going to come back home? It's absurd. You know you belong with me. What can I do? You know I regret it all. Just tell me what to do to fix things. I removed the sealant cover before responding. Amanda, I know you're sorry, and I am too, but we're not getting back together. It's time for you to move on. Find someone else. Who exactly? Amanda scoffed. I work in a salon with gay hairstylists. Most of my clients are divorced women. She stared at the ground. I never imagined I'd end up like them. I didn't respond and started gathering my tools. Come on, Mark, Amanda pleaded. Give me another chance. Forgive and forget, at least for our boy's sake. The holidays are near. We should be together. Amanda, you're forgiven. You had more than a decade to make things right. Every day you chose not to. As for forgetting, I shook my head. Yes, the holidays are coming. The boys will be home from school, and we can have alternating dinners at yours and Katie's, like old times. Amanda crossed her arms, defiant. I will not have that woman in my house, and I won't step foot in hers. I just shrugged. I think the kids will miss you. I worried the holidays might be awkward for them, given the new living situations, but it turns out my fears were unnecessary since all the kids have adjusted well. I guess that's good, but wow, doesn't this generation just roll with things? The boys attended dinners at both homes to keep the peace. By Christmas, the kids had convinced Amanda to make a brief visit to Katie's. Katie pleaded with her to stay longer, but she wouldn't. Katie tells me she holds no grudge against Amanda and doesn't mind if I spend time there doing renovations or activities with my boys and Amanda. They might not be friends like before, but Amanda has softened and at least acts politely towards Katie now. After a year with Katie, I couldn't be happier. It's not the wild rush of young love, but a deep, mature love filled with affection and respect. Still, I felt compelled to ask Katie about making it official. Mark, Katie said, holding my face in her hands, you're a great man, and I want to be with you for the rest of our lives. But I promised myself I'd only marry once. I hope you understand. Honestly, I never could see myself marrying again. But I remember something my dad always said. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Update. Hey everyone, I saw some comments asking for more info about the kids and what happened next, so here's an update. After I found out about Amanda's affair and the truth about our younger son, I knew I couldn't keep it from the boys. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I insisted Amanda tell them, and we gathered in the living room. The boys were sitting on the couch, looking curious and a bit worried. Amanda started talking, but she was clearly struggling. Boys, there's something I need to tell you. A long time ago, I made a terrible mistake, and it's affected our family in ways I never intended. Our eldest, Michael, frowned and asked, What do you mean, Mom? Amanda took a deep breath. I had an affair, and it turns out that your brother, David, isn't biologically your father's son. David's face went white. What? Who is my father then? Amanda looked down, crying. His name was Josh. He lived next door when you were a baby. The boys were silent for what felt like forever. Michael was the first to react, his voice shaking with anger. How could you do this to Dad? To us? David looked at me, his eyes full of confusion and fear. Dad, does this mean you're not my dad anymore? I moved to sit between them, putting an arm around each of their shoulders. Listen, David, I am your dad, and nothing will change that. Blood doesn't define our relationship. I raised you, loved you, and I always will. The boys broke down crying, and we sat there for a long time. I just held them, telling them we'd get through this together. The next few weeks were tough. The boys had a hard time processing everything, especially David. He had a lot of questions about his identity and where he fit in. We got them into counseling, which helped a lot. Eventually, they told me they wanted to move in with me. They felt betrayed by Amanda and needed some space. I started looking into the legal stuff to make it happen. My brother Eric helped a lot, and we worked with a family law attorney to make sure it was done right. Amanda and I finalized the divorce without too much drama. We agreed on joint custody, but the boys spend most of their time with me. They still see their mom, and we're trying to keep things civil for their sake. Amanda is doing her best to make up for her mistakes. The boys are slowly rebuilding their relationship with her, and we're finding a new normal. As for me, I'm figuring out single parenthood and this new chapter of my life. Katie has been amazing through all this. Her kids and mine have become close, and we've sort of become a blended family. Katie and I are taking things slow, but it's looking good. I still have moments of anger and betrayal, but they're getting less frequent. My focus now is on making sure my boys feel loved and secure. We're taking things day by day, and despite everything, we're getting stronger as a family. Life has thrown us a lot of curveballs, but we're moving forward. I finally feel hopeful about the future. Thanks for all the support and advice. It means a lot.